Men who dated younger women. How'd it go? An age gap needs to be bigger as age progresses to be noticeable. I'm 11 years older at 48, and it feel only slightly older. But 11 years older at age 30 is a world of differences. My husband and I have an 11-year gap, and the only time we noticed is when we are talking about our childhood, and I have to remind him these places he's talking about didn't exist in my lifetime lol. It'll always be Burma to me. You may know it as Myanmar. My experience is that it was a lot of fun, but nothing really past how well we clicked in the bedroom. She was too naive, too immature, and just emotionally stunted. It really got too much too quick. This wasn't a fan. Lack of communication was noticeable. Second, at I'm 31. She just turned 26, but she put everything and everyone in front of me and our home life and relationship. Couldn't handle it anymore as we both going through employment and family issues this year, and it all came to a point where it boiled over because she just wouldn't have her adult conversation about it to make at least one thing easier on ourselves and our lives. We are now not in a relationship, but still talk occasionally. Can't have a fulfilling relationship with the emotional equivalent of a brick wall. Sorry you had to go through that. Thank you for your kind words. Fun for a minute. Kind of a novelty. I've discovered I kinda like crow's feet and smile lines who older thought /view 200D. I'm 60. She's 44. Almost 45. We've been dating 6 months. When we met I didn't think of age or anything. But a few weeks later I googled her and found out she was 44. During a chat I asked her how old she thought I was. 50? 51. You don't look that old. I said 59. About to hit 60 feet. She didn't have a problem with it, nor did some of her friends, who are also dating guys a bit older than they are. We get along great and are really compatible. How TF did you Google a normal person? Sometimes the stars align. Horrible. As a 40-year-old man who was dating a 27-year-old at the time, I wish I could go back and kick myself in the ass. Hot? Check. Fun? Check. Fucking nutcase? Checkmate. That's universal though. No matter what your age. Shagging crazy is a terrible idea. 31 meters dating a 25F, and I think that's the sweet spot. She's young enough to keep me upbeat and on the move, but old enough to understand that we all fight our demons. This allowed us to work and heal from both of our traumas through experience from my side and compassion and new approaches from her side. Definitely a keeper. I'm going to marry that woman. My ex was 22 when we met and 23 when she asked me to be her boyfriend after a few months dating. I'm 12 years older than her. This was during the pandemic. It was the most intense time of my life for the good and the bad. She had no maturity to be in a committed relationship. We had a lot of fights for things I never fought in previous and current relationship. She was a lot of fun. Sex was out of this world and her sense of humor was great too. Also super hot and good looking. Didn't end well. She's a cheater and compulsive liar. Called me a few weeks ago saying she misses me, how I treated her, how I cooked, and R6. Asked if I missed her. I said no. TLDR, I recommend for fun, but not for long term. Unless you two align in morals and have the same view of commitment, boundaries and respect. You explained it perfectly. From the stupid fights about nonsense to the great sex and fun. In the end, it's just not worth the constant headaches. I was 32, she was 23. So a 9-year difference. We met for lunch. She invited me. I felt like I was too old for her. But in the first round of get to know you questions, she mentions that her dad is older than her mom. A lot older. 26 years older. In that moment I felt at ease and maybe not even old enough to date her. We started dating, and we are literally attached at the hip. That is until she missed her period 4 months in. We stayed together through the pregnancy and got married before 2 years of dating. Things got really rough because she felt trapped in starting a family so young with someone she hardly knew. But we kept working on it and eventually got on the same page. The age difference doesn't show up too much. We went to the same university, so we had a lot of experiences in common. Just in a different decade I tried my best to let her learn her life lessons without me cutting in, to save her from a fail. Sometimes it was appreciated, and sometimes she accused me of letting her fail on purpose. We celebrate 10 years since we started dating in a few weeks. I briefly dated a 24-year-old when I was 34, and while there wasn't a creepy power dynamic or anything, we certainly didn't have enough things in common. The sex was good, and we both had fun for a while, but it stayed casual because we both knew there wasn't a good enough foundation for anything more serious. It was only partly because of the age difference, because later the same year I dated a 44-year-old, and it wasn't awkward at all. I dated a 24-year-old when I was 34 too. It was super fun at first, and we both lost interest in a romantic relationship quickly. Strangely enough, we've evolved into very good friends. She's still super fun and gets me out of the house a lot, and I've been helping her become more of an adult. She's 9 years younger than me, and we met on Bumble during 2020 first covered lockdown in our city. Moved in together by the time second lockdown started in 2021. I married her October 2nd this year 2023, so I'd say it's going really well. It was fun. We enjoyed each other's company, but unlimitedly she returned to her husband thanks to my encouragement. We had a 23-year gap. I see this as a win. I'm so tired. When we met I was 30 and she was 20. That was 18 years ago. We've just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary and have 2 gorgeous daughters together. I couldn't be happier, so pretty well it'd say. I was 35 and she was 20. She asked me out 4 times before I agreed to a date. Chemistry was there and she was mature beyond her years, which is why I finally said yes. It was amazing. Her parents and friends loved me, but my friends constantly gave me S about it, and it began to mess with my head. I broke up with her almost exactly a year later. Biggest regret of my life. She met and married a guy 2 years older than me. Man, F your friends. Ended up emigrating to Australia. Haven't spoken to any of them in years. Fucking oath you added cunt. Welcome. Woman, here I was a mature 27 with a 6-year-old son, and he was a young 40 with a 5-year-old daughter. It's now 43 wonderful years later. Besides his kidney failure, tumor and no fault of his age, it's been fabulous most of the time. Well, I married an older woman, if that tells you anything. Late 40s here and divorced. Looking at some of the women recommended to me in dating apps, all I can think is they look like children. I was talking to a good friend of mine about this the other day. I don't have children of my own. Both of my sisters had children young, so I became an uncle at 17. As I've gotten older, the age difference is super clear to me, especially in terms of looks. Even girls in their mid-20s look so goddamn young to me. Like I almost feel like I wanna say, hey kiddo, thought it was just me. She's so F hot. Lucky bastard. I just fell backwards into it too. Got married. My wife is 15 years younger than me. We got together when I was 45. She was a doctor of veterinary medicine and teaching PhD candidate at the University of Nairobi. She also came to Canada and got a second PhD. From her cultural standpoint, 15 years was not a problem. We have 4 kids including GGB triplets who just turned 2 and a 10-year-old son. So it worked out great. My wife is 9 years younger than me, and we are great together. Fantastic. Married her. I'm 45 and she's 37, but an old soul for sure. Much older than me in a lot of ways. We are 30 and 37 and it works great for us. Never noticeable except for reminiscing on technology at various stages in our lives. Yeah, there's that. Also, she's never even heard of the bands I listened to growing up. A lot of TGIF shows I watched as a kid she has no idea about. It's insane, lol. She should know what TGIF is at 37. It was still on until she was like 12. Agreed. She was 24 and I was 30 when we met. Still going strong at almost 5 years. That's still within a normal gap. Yet you will still have people call me a creep and that I'm grooming her. I guess it depends on your idea of younger. Reddit tends to have a lot of issues with mine. and my wife's ages when we started dating and married. Before it, I went more than 15 years with no one ever expressing an issue with it. But apparently ours was what some consider an unexceptionable age gap at the time we started dating and married. I was 25 and she was 19 when we met and started dating. Largest age gap of anyone I'd dated. We married a year and a half later when she was 20 and I was 26. Of course, that age gap is not an issue for anyone now, in our 40s, Reddit or otherwise. We've had 21 incredibly happy years together, are still very much in love, and look forward to the next 20 happy years together. Reddit can suck it if they have a problem with 19 and 25. That's the age difference of my parents. They've been married for 41 years. 29 and 21. She kept saying things and I would think, damn, that's a young person thing to say. Like when she would say I may be young, but I know what life is all about. Phew. You haven't even lived a quarter, maybe, of your lifespan. And you are insisting that you have it all figured out already. I did that when I was your age. Didn't realize I had gotten over it since. But obviously that could just be her and her personality. I didn't want to lean into the age gap too much, especially because it wasn't that large, and it was very likely I was just being a condescending asshole. I hung out with her recently a few years later and still found her insufferable. So I think it was probably just her. Fine. Thank you for asking. Not great. I was 29 and she was 21. Only 8 years. But that's actually a lot. The main problem was that we couldn't totally relate. We grew up in different teen eras, had different tastes in music, and were at different stages in life. I was out on my own, paying my own way, and she still lived at home, etc. She had the energy to party all night and bounce back. I wanted to be in bed by 11. Didn't last more than a few months. My wife and I are only 3 months apart in age. And it's like we grew up in the same place although we didn't. We had the same experiences growing up, the same events in history, and are ready for bed at the same time. You wanted to be in bed by 11 PM at 29. Theo.